You may be familiar with the cliche that health is wealth. True. But assessing that wealth is what many across the country are contending with, that is having access to effective primary health care services in terms of availability and affordability. No doubt, quality health is a fundamental right of all Nigerian citizens. And the federal government recognizes this and has continued to demonstrate commitment in meeting the demands of ensuring quality and accessible public health services across the country, with a target of raising the number of functional primary health care centers from 8,809 to more than 17,000 by 2027 across the 36 states and the FCT. Efforts are ongoing towards revitalizing primary health care centers nationwide through various initiatives. Now, the goal is to revitalize the number of functional health care facilities. If you recall, in 2023, the present administration unveiled the Nigeria Health Sector Renewal Investment Initiative, a program steered by the Ministry of Health and Social Welfare, geared towards improving population health outcomes and services across the country. Experts are of the opinion that collaborations with states and all state governments and other stakeholders is crucial if demands must be met. But how effective is the implementation of the revitalization programs of the primary healthcare centers across the country? Tonight on Weekend File, we will be discussing ongoing efforts in revamping primary healthcare centers and managing disease outbreaks. Our guests are Dr. Isiaq Salako, Minister of State, Health and Social Welfare. He will be joining us via Zoom from Lagos. And we have here in the studio Dr. Isaac Egboja. He's a public health expert. Don't forget to bring you situation reports from across the country. Thank you for joining us. This is Weekend File. I'm Ruth Aguela. First, let's begin with the news. Arrangements, we hear, have reached an advanced stage ahead of the formal declaration by UNESCO General Assembly to endorse the establishment of the Category 2 Media and Information Literacy Institute in Nigeria. Minister of Information and National Orientation, Mohamed Idris, was at the UNESCO headquarters in Paris, France, where he assured Nigeria's readiness and commitment. Salihu Abdullahi Gwanara reports.
Like the famous phrase of an American baseball manager, Yogi Berra, it is not over until it is over. That is the best way to describe the struggle by the Nigerian government desirous to actualize its plan to host the Media and Information Literacy Institute. This struggle began from the 2022 UNESCO Global Media and Information Literacy Week, hosted by Nigeria and subsequently endorsed by the resolution of the 216th session of the UNESCO Executive Board in May 2023. The current administration has inherited this cause with financial and infrastructure commitment to ensure seamless takeoff of the institute in Nigeria. The minister is not also relenting in engaging relevant stakeholders before the official confirmation of Nigeria's status to host the Media and Information Literacy Institute ahead of the UNESCO General Assembly that will be held in October 2024.
It's a worldwide institute, and this is the first time that the world is doing this, and it's going to be really very great that Nigeria is hosting it. Secondly, there is also the prospect of looking at the MIL cities, the Media Information Literacy cities. About 20 countries around the world have indicated interest to pilot this. And so we have also come here to express the readiness of Nigeria to have the Media Information Literacy City in Abuja, the first one in Africa. This will also go a long way in helping not just the young ones, everyone in the country to be more aware about the dangers of fake news.
So this is the concept and the idea of the concept of an MIL city. It's a city, it's an urban space that promotes media and information literacy, also among adults, not only the youth and pupils and students,
Nigeria had also played host to members of the UNESCO feasibility team, where they compare notes after reviewing Nigeria's proposal on the infrastructure provided for the takeoff of the institute.
It's a big deal for us at a time that this administration is carrying out a number of reforms to reposition Nigeria. We thought that this MIL Institute, if finally approved by the General Committee of UNESCO, will put Nigeria on a very great pedestal.
This is a final analysis and assessment of the process that started since 2 years now. The Honorable Minister has already and always reiterating the commitment of the government and Mr. President, His Excellency Bola Ahmed Tinubu, by providing all the necessary resources we need for this.
As a government image promoter, he reaffirmed the government's unrelenting efforts to guarantee press freedom and restore trust and credibility to government communications in Nigeria, and called for global support in the fight against fake news and disinformation. In Paris, France, Salihu Abdullahi Gwanara, NTA News.
Turning our attention back home, a modernized civil service driven by efficiency is crucial to the implementation of federal government's initiatives and other reforms on public administration in the country. Head of Civil Service of the Federation, Didi Esther Wilson Jack, stated this at the opening of a mandatory training program for CEOs of ministries, departments and agencies at the Administrative Staff College of Nigeria. Joel Popola reports.
It is the first time the head of civil service of the Federation will officially open the mandatory training program for CEOs in person, which is an attestation to the importance attached to the MTP and the Administrative Staff College of Nigeria, ASCON, which the head of service, Didi Esther Wilson Jack, described as a bedrock of public service. The head of service was emphatic that equipping the CEOs of federal government agencies with requisite skills will hasten their understanding of public service ecosystem.
It is an opportunity for you to gain clarity, build competence, and foster the confidence needed to excel in your new roles.
The charge for the CEOs is to implement fresh ideas and insights.
I had management training at various stages in my career, but I must say that this is the best I've had so far.
It will definitely improve our management skills in our own institutions.
Earlier, the Director General of ASCON described the training as apt, since not all the participants started as career civil servants. The MTP, according to her, will ensure all the leaders are on the same page.
The rationale for the mandatory training program is premised on the huge responsibilities placed on the shoulders of chief executive officers.
The head of service took time to assess facilities at ASCON to identify the institution's areas of strength and where intervention is needed.
The work that ASCON is doing will continue to resonate in the federal public service because the competencies and skills of the leadership and the staff will continue to be built.
Over 200 participants have undergone the mandatory training program for heads of MDAs since 2021, which is now in its 12th edition. In Lagos, Joel Popola, NTA News.
The federal government has refuted claims made by the National Assembly caucus of the Northeast that states in the region have been excluded from the Special Agro-Industrial Processing Zone project. The Minister of Agriculture and Food Security, Abubakar Kyari, stated that only 3 out of the 6 states in the Northeast have expressed interest in participating in the project. Musa Baba Aliyu will tell us more.
The concept of the Special Agro-Industrial Processing Zone project was first developed in 2019. The initiative's first phase was launched in 2022 with financial support from the African Development Bank, the Islamic Development Bank, International Fund for Agricultural Development, among other financial institutions.
It is solely the discretion of the state to participate or not. And we have cases where states have not express interest.
As at 2022, only 8 states, Kano, Kaduna, Kwara, Oyo, Ogun, Imo, Cross River, and the Federal Capital Territory met the established criteria to participate. In the second phase of the program, 27 states expressed interest, but only 10 met the criteria. Among these, 3 states from the northeast, Gombe, Borno, and Bauchi.
So the sweeping statement by the caucus that the Northeast was completely excluded is not correct. We are also confident that most states will do the needful to fulfill the eligibility criteria to enable us to capture them in the second tranche funding of the phase 2.
The minister stated that in addition to the SAPZ program, the federal government has provided targeted support for farmers in the northeast and across the country. Musa Baba Aliyu, NTA News.
The National Drug Law Enforcement Agency has destroyed what it considers the largest seizure of illicit drugs of over 1.6 million kilograms in southwestern Nigeria, signifying a gradual departure from the consumption and trafficking of illicit drugs. The chairman and chief executive officer of the NDLEA, Brigadier General Mohammed Buba Marwa, retired, solicits for stakeholders' collaboration in the war against the menace. Hakim Jamal reports.
The illicit drugs, weighing about 1.6 million kilograms of assorted illicit substances, were seized across Ogun, Lagos, and Oyo states. The public destruction of the illicit drugs in the Ipararemo area of Ogun State caught the attention of men and officers of the various security agencies who were on ground to forestall possible breakdown of law and order. The chairman and chief executive officer, National Drug Law Enforcement Agency, Brigadier General Mohammed Buba Marwa, retired, represented, believes in strong synergy among stakeholders to win the war against the consumption and trafficking of illicit drugs.
This exercise is not merely symbolic, it is forensic, grounded in evidence. Random laboratory tests are carried out to confirm the authenticity of the seized items. The substances are destroyed with the approval of the court after the cases linked to them have been brought to closure.
This fight cannot be won by government alone. It requires the vigilance, unity, and courage of every citizen.
The high point of the event was the presentation of awards to deserving organizations for their contributions to the war against the cankerworm from Ipararemo in Ogun State. Hakim Jimo, NTA News.
A suspected improvised explosive device planted on Maiduguri Damboa Road in Borno has claimed 8 lives, with 14 others sustaining various degrees of injury. Governor Babagana Umar Zulum has paid a sympathy visit to the injured receiving treatment at Maiduguri Specialist Hospital. Mohammed Goni reports.
The devastating incident that struck travelers along Maiduguri-Damboa Highway in the early hours of Saturday claimed the lives of 8 people and left 14 others injured. Governor Babagana Umar Zulum was among the early callers to commiserate with the victims receiving treatment at the State Specialist Hospital, offering his words of comfort to them and their families. The governor pledged that the state government will cover all medical expenses for the wounded, as well as directed that each victim be given 50,000 naira as immediate support to help ease their burdens.
The matters arising shall be dealt with, and then we shall strengthen the resilience of the community, but we shall ensure that movement from Maiduguri to Damboa should continue. This will not deter us from following the road. I urge the Nigerian military and all other security agencies to beef up security along the road so that such incidents will not happen again.
The governor also reassured the people of Borno of his administration's commitment to enhancing security across the state, promising that no stone will be left unturned in the fight against terror and the protection of the people of Borno state. In Maiduguri, Mahmoud Goni, NTA News.
A team of inspectors from the Federal Ministry of Health and Social Welfare has visited former General Hospital, Kumo, Gombe State, approved by President Bola Ahmed Tinubu to be a federal medical center. Emmanuel Akila reports that it is the first of 3 inspection visits required for the takeover of the facility by the federal government.
The delegation from the Federal Ministry of Health went round all the sections of the Federal Medical Center Kumo to inspect the infrastructure, equipment and personnel. And this is what the leader of the delegation has to say.
The buildings, infrastructures, they are brand new, well planned, well ventilated, with national grid and solar backup, functioning, not just an ordinary show, with brand new equipment in the theater, CSSD, in the offices of the CMD, Director of Admin, Radiology. It is really very marvelous.
We remain grateful to Mr. President for fast-tracking. Fast-track is when you set aside some conditions. It was on something that was on process, but he decided to fast-track it by jumping the queue and giving us hospital, and we will remain grateful.
These projects can help us in several ways. It can be a source of employment to our teaming youth.
We are happy to see this committee coming to our local government, inspecting one by one facility in the hospital.
The team discussed the details of the relevant takeover documents with the secretary to the state government.
All the documents that you talked about are ready.
The immediate community is elated, seeing that Federal Medical Center Kumo is becoming a reality. In Gombe, Emmanuel Akila, NTA News.
It is a moment of felicitation for family, friends and associates of Felix Morka, the APC Publicity Secretary and Board Chairman of the NTA, as he marks his 60th birthday. President Bola Ahmed Tinubu is among the first to be part of this moment as he congratulates the celebrant, describing him as a renowned human rights lawyer, urban development specialist. President Tinubu joins the APC family in the milestone birthday of a committed party stalwart and strategic thinker. Meanwhile, National Chairman of the APC, Abdullahi Umar Ganduje, on behalf of the National Working Committee of the party, congratulates Felix Morka. Ganduje describes Morka as a committed party stalwart and a distinguished public communicator whose dedication has contributed to the development of the APC and expects more from him. Well, I told you today is the 60th birthday anniversary of one of the profound figures in Nigeria's constitutional democracy, a distinguished lawyer and a strategic communicator, Felix Morka. Our correspondent, Abubakar Akwanga, takes us through the profile of the celebrant, who is the National Publicity Secretary of the APC and also doubles as the board chairman of Africa's largest television network in Africa, NTA. Let's see that.
Born on the 12th of April 1965 in Ika local government area of Delta State, Felix Morka traversed through the walls of the pre-primary and post-primary education and later climaxed his academic sojourn as a trained Harvard lawyer. Felix Morka was also the senior special assistant on legal and constitutional matters to the former deputy president of the Senate, Ovie Omo Agege. His political profile keeps rising at the level of party politics as the incumbent National Publicity Secretary of the All Progressives Congress, APC. Morka has consistently performed his job with deep knowledge and an unbiased approach to national issues, with respect to constructive criticism of the opposition voice and professional in dealing with issues driven by sentiment and unverifiable sources. The National Publicity Secretary of the governing All Progressives Congress is also the board chairman of the Nigerian Television Authority, the Director General and Chief Executive Officer of the Nigerian Television Authority, Malan Saliu Abdul Hamid Dembos, management and the entire staff of the corporate organization felicitate with its board chairman Felix Morka and wish him a more rewarding and exceptional career as he continues to offer himself for selfless service to the nation and humanity. In Abuja, Abubakar Akwanga, NTA News.
All right. What is there What are the efforts put in place in revamping primary healthcare centers, and also how are diseases being managed in those centers? Well, that will be the focus of our conversation after the break. Stay tuned. Thank you for being there. Key players driving Nigeria's health system have emphasized that a resilient primary healthcare system in Nigeria can cater for treatment of about 70% of the country's disease burden and will undoubtedly guarantee better population health outcomes. While national agenda on health has continued to evolve around, building a resilient and affordable quality health care for all, our correspondent Oluseyi Adeagbo takes a look at all these issues in this report.
The Week 12 epidemiological report of the Nigerian Center for Disease Control and Prevention (NCDC) confirmed 85 deaths from meningitis in 22 states across the country. In global healthcare, prevention measures such as vaccines and surveillance have always been game changers, rewriting the story of diseases that ravaged humanity and stole the lives of millions. Here in Nigeria, we are making history. The country's efforts to emergency response and disease management.
The federal government is very committed to ensuring that Nigerians, particularly those who are afflicted by diseases like HIV, TB, and malaria, continue to receive the care they need. And it is in that direction that the President provided for in 2025 resources for us to begin to meet the gap.
While logistics have caused shortage of vaccines in this center, some other PHC facilities, mostly at the hard-to-reach areas in Nigeria, have same limitations, threatening vaccine potency.
It starts from purchasing the vaccine. 2023 immunization vaccine budget fully paid for. 25% of 2024, government has brought it out. But now, with the emergency at hand, it has become imperative that the balance without 2024, let's not play with it. Let's bring it out and buy the vaccines that are needed for Nigerians.
Beyond government, for sustainability, it must be also about the people. It must be private sector coming in. It must be an all-comers thing.
Though it is a unanimous opinion that Nigeria is not where it should be in the health sector, there are improvements, especially with recent investments, and the call to action is for a stronger collaboration among key players in the healthcare value chain towards achieving the desired healthcare goals. In Abuja, Oluseyi Adeagbo, NTA News.
And to ensure that everyone gets a chance at quality healthcare, the government is giving it all, especially at the grassroots level, with the provision of amenities for the efficient running of primary healthcare centers. Well, our correspondent Kayode Oladozu will tell us more.
Primary healthcare centers were established to bring essential health services closer to communities. In Osun State, they are not only a point of first contact, but a critical foundation for preventive and basic curative care. To keep them functional, especially for vaccine preservation and routine immunization, power supply has been a major concern. But recent interventions suggest a turning tide as solar-powered systems have been installed in PHCs to ensure uninterrupted electricity, making vaccines remain potent and effective.
The vaccines are stored in we call it SDD, that's the Solar Direct device, where we store the vaccines at the temperature of +2 to +8. So with that, the potency are maintained. If there is no electricity supply, there's no cause for alarm, since there will be sun that will power the freezer.
I used to come every due date to collect the immunization. So since I give back to her, I have not experienced any sickness from her.
We do the immunization session every week in our facility here, so that if your baby needs for that of 6 weeks, you will target that of the weekday we are running the immunization section. So that is how we used to give the baby the vaccination.
Experts believe that with improved energy supply, PACs are now more reliable, making communities respond with trust and increased turnout for services. In Oshogbo, Kayode Oladoshu, NTA News.
All right, let's bring in our guests to look at efforts towards revamping primary healthcare centers and also managing disease outbreaks. We have joining us via Zoom from Lagos, the Minister of State Health and Social Welfare, Dr. Isiaq Salako. Thank you very much, Honorable Minister, for joining us.
Thank you very much for having me. Good evening, Nigerians.
Good evening to you. And we have here with us in our Abuja studio, Dr. Isaac Abuja. He's a public health specialist. Thank you very much for joining us, Dr. Abuja.
Thank you for having me. Good evening.
Fantastic. All right, let's get to the Honorable Minister. You have seen the issues play out from the reports, talking about the strides and also some of the challenges being recorded in the aspect of having functional primary health care centers and dealing with disease burden in the country. How would you react to that?
Once again, thank you. Nigeria has a reasonable spread of primary health care centers. Challenge mainly is the functionality of those centers. And the government of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu recognize that it is not enough to have buildings. If those buildings, that primary health care centers, do not have the requisite manpower, the requisite equipment, the requisite drugs and supplies, then they can be called any building rather than primary health care center. As a result, one of the core agenda of the Health Sector Renewal Investment Initiative of Mr. President is the rehabilitation of primary health care centers across the country. We know that as at the moment, there's an ongoing rehabilitation of about 4,000 primary health care centers to take them to level 2. Level 2 means that they are functional, they have the needed manpower, the supply of electricity is guaranteed, supply of drugs, immunization is guaranteed, and they are also able to access funding for basic healthcare provision from the Basic Healthcare Provision Fund. So about 4,000 ongoing rehabilitation is ongoing now. The target is that by 2027, at least 50% of the primary healthcare centers in Nigeria are rehabilitated and upgraded to level 2. So with this, the delivery of essential healthcare is taken closer to the people, and our people are able to access essential healthcare more readily. With the expansion of subscription into the national healthcare insurance, we also guarantee that patients, Nigerians, when they go for essential healthcare, they do not have to suffer financial hardship. They have to dip their pocket, their hand into their pocket to pay for healthcare. So robustly, the issue of primary healthcare is being addressed as the cornerstone of the healthcare delivery system of the government of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. When it comes to health security, that is responding and addressing outbreaks of diseases, Nigeria is better prepared compared to 2022. The last evaluation that was done by an external body called the Joint External Evaluation, moved Nigeria's rating from about 39% to about 54%, which means Nigeria is better prepared to detect diseases, to prevent, and to respond to outbreaks, especially outbreaks like cholera, like Lassa fever, like meningitis, such recurrent outbreaks that we currently have in our country. So I'll say overall, we are making progress with our healthcare delivery system and making sure that health is available to Nigerians.
All right. Thank you very much, Honorable Minister. We'll get back to you, but something very crucial you mentioned, I want Dr. Abuja to respond to. He talked about the aspect of funding, which the federal government is doing its own part. But what role can state governments play, and also the private sector, especially in the aspect you have to keep training frontline health workers to build their capacity to meet, this demand of disease outbreak? Dr. Abuja, please respond.
Okay, yeah. Primary healthcare generally flourishes well when there is a participation and collaboration between all stakeholders. In Nigeria, we have the federal government, the state governments, and the local governments. And besides those, we also have the private sector. In providing primary healthcare services, it should not only be limited to the governments, whether it is at the federal level or state level or local government level. Communities are supposed to participate. Individuals are supposed to participate. Yeah. Private sector is also supposed to participate. So it is the participation of all these partners or stakeholders that would make up the good and expected service that we call primary healthcare service. It is not only the government. And if you listen to what the Minister of State just said, efforts are being made to provide more financial resources for health. Especially, it should be noted that this year, 2025, the health budget has been dramatically increased. Yeah. And that is heartwarming, because for us to be able to reach those who have not been able, who are not reachable because of distance from healthcare services or because they cannot afford them, there has to be a good budget for health generally and for primary healthcare in particular. And this should not only be limited at the federal level. States are also supposed to also increase their budgets, and with the local governments now becoming autonomous financially, it is expected that they also should make more financial provisions, because they are the people that will provide the health staff that will man the healthcare centers.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much, Dr. Abuja. We'll take a break. When we come back, we'll pick up with the conversation. Please stay tuned. Thank you for staying with us. As Nigeria battles yet another wave of meningitis, Sokoto State finds itself at the epicenter of the outbreak. But unlike in the past, the response has been swift, structured and robust, led by vibrant primary health care centers, state-level coordination and federal government support. Let's hear from Abdullahi Umar Ilalu.
Cerebrospinal meningitis, a silent killer that strikes with little warning, often begins with symptoms like high fever, severe headache, neck stiffness, and persistent vomiting. In communities with limited access to immediate health care, it spreads rapidly and kills even faster. The recent outbreak in Tambuwal local government, sharing a border with Kebbi State, has triggered a ripple effect across the southern axis of Sokoto State. The State Commissioner for Health, Dr. Faruk Umar Abubakar, says the government is leaving no stone unturned in collaboration with National Center for Disease Control and Prevention and the state's Drug and Medical Supply Agency. Essential drugs are being dispatched to affected areas.
Almost all the cases are brought in the hospitals. They are able to receive treatment, and His Excellency provide adequate number of drugs, and the drugs were supplied from all the 5 isolation centers created. And the only emphasis is to immunize the health workers who are also involved in handling this patient. They are immunized, and all the community are also immunized.
Nigerian Center for Disease Control has sent the rapid response team in order to align with the state and make pursuit for the outbreak in the state. So the state is ready to do the reactive vaccination of this cerebrospinal meningitis in most of the affected LGS in Sokoto State.
With Sokoto State primary health care centers now operating as critical first responders and health educators in rural communities, the approach to public health appears not only effective but exemplary. From Sokoto, Abdullah Omar Ilalu, NTA News.
All right, let's connect back to the Minister of State. Honorable Minister, you saw the report from Sokoto State, which not just for meningitis, but other aspects. How is the ministry getting it? What kind of feedback, rather, is the ministry getting across states in the aspect of response and ensuring that these primary healthcare centers have adequate supply, vaccines, and, of course, crucial health materials?
Thank you once again. First, I must commend the Sokoto State authorities, from the governor and all the health authorities, for the very robust response that they have taken with respect to the current outbreak of meningitis in the state. It is not possible to completely eliminate infectious diseases. The catch is to ensure that we detect early. When there's an outbreak, that is when prevention fails. We detect early and also have in place a robust response plan. At the moment, across Nigeria, the 36 states of Nigeria plus Abuja has an emergency operation mechanism that is able to monitor epidemics, infectious diseases of public health importance, and able to also robustly respond by placing consumables, needed drugs, needed supplies to ensure that the response to such diseases is adequate. The Center for Disease Control, the National Center for Disease Control, coordinates these activities through the state apparatus of the state government. So this is ongoing, and you will see that in most of the outbreaks that we've suffered, for example, diphtheria in Lagos, the response was robust. Meningitis now in Sokoto, we're having a robust response. So clearly, the evaluation that was done in 2023 that showed that Nigeria is better prepared to respond to epidemics is being validated by this robust response that we're getting.
All right, thank you, Honorable Minister. Let's hear from Dr. Abuja. The role of technology in expanding the scope, having the swift response and meeting demands right on time.
Well, technology has a lot of role to play in providing primary healthcare services, starting, for example, health promotion, disease prevention, treatment, and so on. When you look at technology, for example, here in Nigeria, let's take immunization, which is one of the services that is provided in the healthcare centers. Previously, we had serious problem with electricity supply, but recently, during the report you listened to it too, that the provision of solar energy, which powers the cold chain where vaccines are stored, has helped a lot in terms of making sure that the vaccines are kept in the right condition and are given to those who need them when they need them and where they need them.
All right, thank you, Dr. Abuja. Honorable Minister, I'd like to hear your final thoughts concerning this issue, especially in the aspect of affordability, availability, and accessibility. What hope are you giving Nigerians?
Well, I can tell you that clearly that Mr. President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, in his manifesto statement, the Renew Hope agenda, when talking about healthcare, he said health is a matter of urgent right for all Nigerians, which means that he considered that healthcare should be available, should be affordable, should be accessible to all Nigerians. And that is why there's a lot of priority attention being given to the healthcare sector. In terms of funding, which Dr. Abuja alluded to, the funding for the healthcare sector has significantly increased over the years. In terms of recruitment of healthcare workers, we now have a situation where it is easier to recruit healthcare workers. In terms of expansion of training of healthcare workers, nurses, doctors, pharmacists, laboratory scientists, the capacity to train has also increased. In terms of providing curative care, The government has also expanded facilities for cancer care, facilities for tertiary care. At the moment, during this administration alone, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu has created at least 12 new federal tertiary health institutions across the 6 geopolitical zones in Nigeria. All these are being done to ensure that healthcare services is made available, is made accessible, and is made affordable by providing insurance cover for the vulnerable Nigerians that cannot afford healthcare.
All right, thank you very much, Honorable Minister. And we must commend the federal government for putting in efforts to revamp the sector. Thank you very much for joining us on Weekend File.
You're welcome. Thank you very much for having me.
All right, and we want to appreciate Dr. Isaac Abuja, a public health specialist. Thank you so much for being on Weekend File.
My pleasure.
Thank you. All right, let's take a break. We'll be back. Stay tuned. Thank you for staying with us. And next will be Sports Update. Ayo, what do you have for us?
Quite a handful of stories. Well, let's start with the National Sports Festival, which preparation is ongoing in Ogun State because the state government says all facilities to be used for the games scheduled for next month will be ready. Ogun State's Governor, Dakpo Abiodun, gave this assurance in Abeokuta during inspection of facilities at MKO Abiola Stadium, which he said is about 95% completed.
The track that's already in place, the field that's probably at about 80% completion, the warm-up pool, the main pool, the handball courts, the tennis courts. I would say that this facility is probably at about maybe 95%.
All right, from there, let's go over now to judo, where 36 judokas from 5 states have competed in a one-day FCT Grassroots Judo Championship at the Old Parade Ground, Abuja. The championship aims at inculcating principles of discipline, self-defense, and being self-reliant. The championship is recognized by the Nigeria Judo Federation in conjunction with the Department of Youth and Sports Secretariat of the FCT.
It's a very interesting spectacle where young boys and girls from different states come into the FCT to experience a grassroots competition.
Judo is a sport. So as a sport administrator, we have the right to diversify.
And now let's tell you that President Bola Tinubu extends his condolences to the family, friends and associates of Nigerian football icon Christian Chukwu, who passed away at 74, leaving a void in the hearts of many football fans. In a statement by his Special Assistant on Information and Strategy, Bayo Ononuga, President Tinubu extols Chukwu, nicknamed the chairman, who captained Green Eagles to a historic 1980 Africa Cup of Nations and coached the Super Eagles to a third-place finish at the AFCON finals in Tunisia in 2004. President Tinubu prays for the repose of the departed sportsman and comfort for his family, hoping they find solace in his enduring legacy. Also, Enugu State Governor Peter Mba has expressed deep grief over the passing away of former Super Eagles captain and coach Christian Chukwu, describing him as a football icon, titan, and phenomenon. Governor Mba describes Chukwu as patriotism personified, serving the nation and Africa unreservedly, both as a player and coach of the highly successful Rangers International of Enugu and Super Eagles of Nigeria. He also coached the Harambee Stars of Kenya, among others. Governor Mba prays God grants Idigbo and Indienugu and the family of the late Christian Chukwu the fortitude to bear the irreparable loss. And that's your sport. It's back to Ruth.
Thank you very much, Ayo. And that's Weekend File. Thank you for your company. I'm Ruth Aguwele. Good night.